Have you ever wondered what's there to forage this time of year and potentially eat or not eat? What are some witchy things that I can do to welcome in the new spring season? And what should I be doing with my plants/garden this time of year? All this and more featured on today's episode of Dirty Talk. Witches, welcome. Welcome to Dirty Talk, the show where we cover all things spiritual, sexy, and spooky. I'm your host, the 𝘋𝘕. I was a soon-to-be psychologist turned psychic medium, and I've dedicated the past 3 years of my life just to studying all things parapsychology. And I'm here today to share all my knowledge with you. Let's get into it. Today's collective reading starts with the Tower card, which for some people can be like, oh my gosh, oh no, what's gonna happen? But I feel like this is a great card for today. I feel like it talks more about building up that beautiful, wonderful stability in your life and cleaning out your house, completely decluttering, getting rid of anything that is no longer serving you, donating it, giving it away to people for free, maybe selling some stuff and actually getting your coin up and really just embracing the newness and the freshness of spring. Some of y'all could have gone through a tower moment recently. You could have gotten, ended a relationship, ended a workplace situationship, moved, could have ended I don't even know, a friendship, just a lot of different things could have happened in your life. But I feel like for the majority of you, it's not something so drastic, although it is Mercury retrograde right now. So you never know. There could be a lot of things that are maybe shaking up the stability in your life again. People returning that you weren't expecting, just anything like that. But I feel like for the majority of people, it is going to be about building up the stability. It is Q2 in the beautiful, beautiful season, and it's time to start jumping into new and exciting endeavors, taking those steps and shaking things up. Yeah, okay. And we do have devotion, harsh conditions. So this could even talk about exiting the winter. The winter was a very rough period, I feel like, for a lot of people. A lot of people all around the world, the winter time was just very, very, very rough. There was a lot of harsh conditions, but you really, really, really showed your devotion throughout all of this. You showed just how much you were devoted to living a more beautiful and fantastic, elegant, I just heard, lifestyle. Something that is makes your heart soar, basically. Yeah, we also have sensuality, grace, elegance. Oh my God. So it's weird that I said elegance. I might have subconsciously picked that up too before I actually looked at the card. But and amiability, so likability. I feel like you're really, really just embracing this more elegant and beautiful side of life. You're kind of exiting the rough, choppy waters and you're coming into something that's a lot smoother. So that way it's a time to really build yourself back up again. Just like in the last collective reading that we had in the last episode, I really talked about star quality, becoming that beautiful, wonderful star. And now it's all about calming the waters, right? So and it goes along with that star, becoming that star also has getting rid of anything that's no longer serving you. So again, this could be friendships, this could be relationships, this could be the job that's no longer serving you. This could be whatever, especially going into this beautiful spring season. It's all about embracing the newness of life, the new beginnings, the rebirth, the refresh, the renewal. Yes, because we have orange blossom here, fruitfulness and abundance. There's so much fruitfulness around you and abundance. You can see it in the way that the grass is changing back to green again after being dead for such a long time. That's kind of how a lot of us might even feel going into the spring season. There might have not been anything crazy or drastic, but maybe it just felt very stagnant for you. Nothing was happening. Even if you were going out and trying new things, it just really felt like you were still maybe stuck in the same place. And again, this could go back to that moving aspect. A lot of you might need to make a move, make some sort of move, shake up the life a little bit and have some fun while you're at it, Doesn't always have to be so serious. Yeah, they're playing this song in my head by Selena Gomez. It's I'll be single soon. I'll be single soon. He might be a mess when I break the news, but I'll be single soon. And she like talks about like, I'm trying on this dress. I'm putting on these new shoes because I'll be single soon. So she's like having fun with it, even though like he's gonna be a mess when she breaks the news, but who cares, because she'll be single soon and she'll be able to live life more freely and more on edge again. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And we have like a lot of different things here coming into. Like we have embracing more of your feminine side. Again, we talked about this, I feel like last week, passionate love. So there could be maybe something kind of coming in and disturbing you, like for a lot of you guys. And again, like all of this could happen for some of you. Might be very, very drastic changes, but all of this could happen for some of you, where I feel like you might maybe be ending a relationship as somebody new might be coming in. Maybe there's even just somebody new coming in that you just weren't necessarily expecting, and it just really, really, really shakes up that foundation of your life. I don't know. There's a lot that could happen here. There's also pomposity, malevolence, and sabotage. So there could have been somebody in your life, maybe a friendship or somebody around you that really, really, really sabotaged the connection, and they could be actually making a return coming up here. Especially, yeah, because we just have malevolence, right? Like you think of like malevolence and how that's kind of eviler energy. Like they just could have been, or could have had a lot of evil things maybe affecting their energy. There could have been a lot of evil people around them in their life, their family, their friends, just a lot of toxicity. And it was hard to get away from that and hard to sort of like form their own opinions. So that's why I get the vibe that they definitely could have sabotaged the connection, you know, and there could have been a lot of factors in play. Like some people sabotage connections because, you know, differences in wealth or differences in lifestyle or just anything, you know. But I feel like that definitely could have been the person that's making a return here, especially with the Tower card. Like it feels like there's a big like shakeup in your life. And even if it's not a return, then maybe there is somebody that literally just effed up the connection right now, like right as we're speaking. And I just saw 7-Eleven too. Like there definitely could have been somebody that effed up their relationship with you literally right now, but it was for the best. It was definitely for the best. You know, rejection is divine protection, as we like to say. Just because you're getting rejected from something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that thing wasn't meant for you. It just means that right now it wasn't going to affect you in the best way. And it's best to remove that thing from your path so that way you can start with something new. Yeah. And again, I just heard break up with your girlfriend. Yeah, because you're bored. Like you don't need a reason to break up with somebody. Like, and that sounds kind of bad, but you know what I'm saying? Like if the feelings aren't there, if the vibes aren't there, if this person isn't treating you right, and those are all reasons, but I'm saying that like, even if it just doesn't feel right, you don't need like a full solid reason to break up with them. Like just rip off the Band-Aid, just get it over with, just do it, you know, especially if that person isn't making you happy, isn't making you feel loved, isn't making you feel secure, if they're making you feel like, you know, the Tower card or whatever, even if maybe they are making you feel very comfortable and secure, sometimes that's when you know you need to get out of it because there's no growth in that, right? Like there's no growing in that. You shouldn't feel comfortable all the time. Relationships should definitely feel uncomfortable and should have their faults, but it's all about coming back to each other and finding that love again and wanting to find that love again. And if you're just getting to like the end of your line where you feel like, you know, I don't know if I can really continuously keep finding this love again in this person right now, then maybe it's time to start considering something new and starting afresh, sabotaging your life, but purposefully, you know, with a purpose, because it doesn't, you know, like that's what people kind of say, like, about breaking up or about quitting your job, like, oh my God, like you just sabotaged your life or whatever. But I don't think it's that drastic. Like, I feel like as long as you know what you want, then it's perfectly okay to go after that. And if that's not that person, then honestly, you're saving that person and you're saving yourself because you're letting them meet their new soulmate and you're also allowing yourself to explore new endeavors and new soulmates and new connections in your life. It's very exciting. Yes. And then for advice from the divine, they said the great gathering, it's all coming together. Oh, intuitive hits and soul tribe. Exactly. All of everything in your life is coming together. Some things have to fall apart in order for them to find their way back together, right? Some things have to fall apart in order for things to come together in the way that they're supposed to. Okay? Really think about that, because it doesn't always feel like, what we're doing is right or what we're doing is the correct thing to do, because, like a breakup or like entering somebody's life again, it's uncomfortable. It's weird. It doesn't feel right. Like it's never going to, right? But it's about taking those chances and making yourself feel uncomfortable so that way you can really, really, really grow. And you can just get better and better and better at embracing the uncomfortable and taking the uncomfortable on like a storm. Yeah, so there's a lot of variability here. Obviously, it's going to depend on your situation. And I'm actually seeing 911 too on this little, it's like from D&D. My boyfriend uses it for D&D dice. I just saw 911. Let me see if I can roll this and see what other numbers I can get too. 411. Yeah. So there definitely could be a message coming in here for you guys. And this is just kind of like a warning. So for some of you guys, this is like a warning to shake up, stir it up. If there's a friend in your life that's being bad, workplace that's being bad, shake it up. Have a new job aligned, obviously, for the people that maybe want to quit something. But for those of you who are exiting friendships, exiting relationships, you don't have to have anything lined up. Just go into singlehood, go into the unknown blind. And I feel like I talked about this very recently, but you guys could have been like taking my advice, but like putting in the steps. And right now is that time where it's like, okay, we've come to the final conclusion. Let's do it. Let's dive into the unknown. Full force. Let's do it. Let's shake things up. So that way we can clean house and start afresh and start anew, just like for the beautiful new spring season. Yes. And I just wanted to end this by kind of saying that it's all coming together. Everything is working out perfectly. So maybe if some of these things are happening to you, like even if you couldn't get ahead and maybe break up with this person, but you were broken up with, or you were fired from your job, it does not matter. You right now are exactly where you're supposed to be. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Everything is working out perfectly. Just trust in the divine. Everything is working out perfectly. And you can say that to yourself. And, I like to think of manifestation like sometimes even your ego doesn't always believe it, but it doesn't matter. You just got to keep saying it to yourself and it will come true. It will happen. Even if you don't fully believe it, it is going to happen. Okay. Everything is going to work out perfectly. Say it with me. And we're going to say for me at the end of it. Okay. Everything is working out perfectly for me. There you go. And now everything will. Yeah. And you guys are definitely calling in your soul tribe here. So you could be meeting new people, meeting new partnerships, new friendships, whatever, that are basically going to connect you to your new higher path that you're supposed to be a part of. So let the things fall apart because everything will come together as it's supposed to. All right? Yee! And let's get on with today's episode. Yay! Happy spring, everybody, to all my beautiful witches, green witches out there. And if you're like, hey, Dick Witch, I'm not a green witch, the fact that you're even here today tells me that you are. So welcome. And I used to be the type of person that was so bad at plants. I couldn't keep anything alive for the life of me. I was so bad at gardening, just everything. But over time, I have learned that the more you try and the more you fail, the more you learn and the more you grow. So that's basically what I wanted to tell everybody, that even if you've killed some plants in your lifetime, it doesn't mean that you're not a green witch. It just means that you gotta just try. Try and learn some things and probably feed your plants, because that was the biggest thing that I actually didn't realize. But my gardening instructor told us that, houseplants aren't in the ground in nature. So they're not getting any of the nutrients that other plants are used to getting outside. Therefore, they can actually eat up all of the nutrients in their soil. And by doing that, then they don't have any food left. And you can water them all you want, but the kitchen water that you normally feed them with or whatever doesn't have like all of the nutrients again that the soil and the sunlight and the rainwater that they are used to getting normally has. So that's why it's very important to feed your plants with fertilizer. You can use little coffee grounds, crushed up eggshells. After you've boiled eggs, you can use that water from that because they love that, all the calcium. it's always good to look into what your plant specifically likes too. But a lot of the time, or I'll just find like organic, succulent plant food, and then I'll find organic regular plant food, and I'll just use both of those like over and over and over again. I've tried like the Miracle-Gro stuff, but it just does not work as well as my organic stuff for some reason. So I'll definitely try to like link some of that stuff down below if I remember, if somebody in the comments can remind me. But definitely let me know down in the comments, what would you guys suggest? What would be some of your tips to new plant owners or to people who are maybe used to killing their plants over like keeping them alive? Or if you have any tips for new gardeners, new garden owners, or just gardening overall, definitely leave them all below, because today's episode is going to be all about the new spring season, gardening, foraging, planting, what you should be doing with your plants, etc. And I'm so excited. So it's kind of iconic, isn't it, that this podcast is literally called Dirty Talk and we're literally talking about soil today and things to do with soil. So yes, but let's get into it. What can we forage this time of year? And I took it to my trusty Pinterest to pull this up. But I actually, last year around this time, did a video where I foraged and actually made a pesto sauce out of the stuff that I foraged for a pizza or for a pasta. I can't really remember, but it was so good. Oh my God. I'm definitely going to be making it again this year. And I made it using something called chickweed. And chickweed is actually, it's grown around the world, like in a lot of different places. I live in the US and I was able to find it just in my local woods. Like I just had to walk like a couple of footsteps off the path and then there it was. I'm always weary to do things like directly around the path because of, dogs and how they urinate, on the plants is probably not a good thing. And it's kind of hard to wash off chickweed because it is such a delicate plant. When you're foraging chickweed, it's definitely important to make sure that you look up what specifically the plant looks like and the color of the flowers, because there are ones that have orange flowers and you're not supposed to use those ones. But then the chickweed that has white flower, it's okay to use that. And I have used it before. I've eaten it and I have turned out perfectly fine. Yeah, so definitely just keep that in mind whenever you're foraging anything. And I feel like that was the biggest thing that actually steered me away from foraging for the longest time, because I was like, oh my God, I'm actually accidentally gonna eat something like poisonous and then like die, But it's very, very rare that that happens because you're so cautious and you're so, like aware of that. But it doesn't help. It does help actually to bring somebody along with you that has foraged before, kind of knows the area, because not only will they be able to show you, okay, this is safe to eat, this is not, but they'll also be able to show you like, here is like the best spots to go for the most quantity, and here's what to pick, and blah, 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 Like they'll be able to tell you everything, things that like you might not be able to Google because Google doesn't know like your exact area, whereas these people have literally foraged before. They know the area, they know what to find and what to gather, etc., etc. And there's classes literally all over the world for this, you guys, like in even the smallest towns, especially in the smaller towns, because what else is there to do besides go back to nature and forage, And I say this as somebody that loves small towns. I'm a big small town gal. Hallmarky for sure. I don't know. I love it. Speaking of different funky things to forage though, let's move on to nettle and stinging nettle. So obviously there's stinging in the name, so you're not going to want to touch this plant with your bare hands. However, if you bring along gloves with you, you can easily forage a lot of that. And I would stay away from cloth gloves. If they have cloth, but they have a little bit of rubber like on the fingertips, like that's okay. But like fully cloth gloves are going to be like not very resistant to like stinging nettle or like I don't know, like even like yeah, like big thorns and stuff like that. They're not very protective against that. So I would definitely invest in like a good pair of gardening gloves or find ones that are very, very thick. Like if they're cloth, just make sure that they're very padded. Or you could even like rock two pairs, right? Like get you like a good solid like rubber pair of thick rubber gloves, but then put a cute little cloth one over it. Nobody will know, you know, you can disguise it, whatever. Um, and just make sure to always protect yourself. But it's weird because you can actually make stinging nettle into tea. And once you boil it, it basically like breaks down those bristles or makes them very soft. So then, it doesn't like affect your throat, but obviously you're going to take the plants out after you're done brewing up the tea and everything. But that is another great thing to forage. Oh, and I didn't even mention the little vitamins. So in chickweed, it has a high amount of vitamin A, B, and C, calcium, and dietary fiber, and it can be eaten raw or cooked. Nettle is going to be a mineral rich super tonic, excellent for all major body systems. Make tea, saute it, or make pesto. Yes, another thing that's great for pesto. Also, on top of this would be dandelions too. So you can use nettle, you can use chickweed, especially if you can't find high quantities of a single one of them. You can use a wide variety, like a big mix of them, and make this beautiful. It just tastes like so springy and so fresh, and it's just like gourmet. Like it's something so gourmet. Whenever I make it in my kitchen, I just feel like a little ratatouille. Like I feel like a little gourmet little chef, you know, little chef bitch. But anyways, we also have dandelion. So dandelion is a weed and it grows everywhere. You can eat the leaves of it. You can make a gorgeous fresh salad. This was another thing that my gardening instructor said. He's like, you could either go to like a high class, like very fancy restaurant and order like a dandelion leaf salad, or you could literally go in your backyard as long as you're not using pesticides or anything like that on your grass. And you can take those dandelions and use them in your salads, or again, you can make a pesto with them too. They are so delicious. They're so fresh. They have like a little bit of like a bitterness to them for sure, but they're just absolutely delicious. And the heads of them too, the little yellow flowers, you can actually use to make a vegan honey with, because they haven't been like, or the pollination of them can technically make like a honey. It's really weird. It's like honey kind of syrup. But I've also made cookies with them before, and it's so good. Like it's a little bit weird of a texture because they are kind of like a fluffier flower. So I don't know for sure that it would be my favorite, but the aesthetic of them was so beautiful. Like especially if you combine it with like lavender and make like a beautiful like lavender dandelion flower. Oh my God. It would look beautiful. It would taste beautiful. Yeah. The texture might be a little bit weird, but that's all that I'm going to say about that. It's still definitely worth trying. You never know until you try it, right? Another great forageable for this time of year that I actually just learned about and I wanted to share is magnolia. Magnolia flowers are not only beautiful, but they are edible and they can be eaten. And they have sort of like a gingery flavor to them. People have described it as like a more ginger flavor. So they'll make like little ginger magnolia cookies with them. Like in substitute of like a gingerbread cookie, it would be like a ginger magnolia kind of cookie. And magnolia flowers are so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I want to plant a few trees in my yard right now, like already. They're so beautiful. They, yeah, can be eaten. I've seen other people make like magnolia candies out of them. I just love to see, because there's so many different things. And in a lot of other cultures, eating magnolia is actually like very frequent. I don't know how to say that. It's not rare. It's like it's very frequent. Like people do it all the time. It's just not as seen as much here because I feel like only recently did a lot of people start growing magnolia trees, but yeah. So they have this thing, it's called mermaid tacos. I'm not sure how these would taste, okay? But they look so aesthetic and they look so delicious. It's basically like a giant noodle, like one of those giant noodles that people stuff, like the giant shell noodles. And then they've stuffed it with like cheese and crab and magnolia. And it looks like something green here. Oh my God, they look incredible. Again, I don't know how that would taste together, like ginger crab. Well, I was gonna say I've never had that before, but whenever I eat like sushi and it has like crab in it sometimes, and I'll eat like the ginger, the like little palate cleanser slash like good for your body pink ginger that they serve with it. And that's been good before. So I feel like this would actually taste pretty good. Yeah, somebody will have to tell me. It's called mermaid tacos and it just showed up on my Pinterest feed. So if you have a Pinterest, definitely check it out. It looks like they're laying it on a bed of seaweed too, which is really interesting. I'll have to try it. Yeah, and then of course there's like a magnolia syrup that you can use for a lot of different things. It's just so beautiful. It's so pretty. And yeah, people are really, really creative with how they make things nowadays, like just using a ton of different plants for it rather than kind of like sticking to what we can buy at the grocery store. Like, I think that's really, really cool. I totally didn't even get to mention how beautiful and fitting of a day it is that I'm recording this on because of the beautiful little slight snowstorm that we have going on outside, but it's not sticking. So you can still see the beautiful green grass poking through, the lovely little purple flowers scattered throughout the yard, the blossoming on the trees, and the peonies just starting to pop up, which are my favorite flowers. So I'm so excited. It literally makes me so happy whenever I look out there and they just look so gorgeous. Which a lot of the time I would be a little bit nervous because of like the frost, but they seem to be doing just fine out there, even with a little tiny bit of snow. So I'm very excited. I thought that I would mention that. And the little tiny purple flowers in the yard are actually another forageable. Little violets are beautiful and wonderful this time of year. Those, you can make candied violets with them. I've seen before. And that can be used on cookies and chocolate, like homemade chocolate that you might be making. Cupcakes, people like to put them on cakes, like just a lot of really sweet decor. Especially when used for like tea parties, like little wild violets that are candied are beautiful on top of literally any dessert that you're going to be making for it. It's just so divine and so stunning. I love the little pop of purple color that they bring. I think it's just so incredible that like color exists in the world. Like it's not just something that like we made up as humans. Like all of the colors have been inspired and based off of like things that we've seen in nature, like violets, which is so cool. Yeah, and I love little violets. You can also make a syrup out of them too. You can add them to salads just for a little bit of pop of color. They don't really have a ton of flavor to them. It's more so just like the aesthetic of them that people really like. But I just wanted to end this section off by basically asking you guys, like, have you ever foraged before? And if so, what have you found? What have you cooked with them? Are you looking to try foraging if you have never done it before? And yeah, just any advice that you would have for people. So that's the end of this section. Let's move on to what are some witchy things that I can do to welcome in the new season. And some witches just celebrated Ostara. I, as a born Catholic, celebrated Easter, which follows along the lines of this tradition. And Ostara is known as the spring equinox, where the hours of dark and light are equal. It brings our attention to the balance we need in life. And isn't that so beautiful and so fitting for not only the collective reading that we had today, but also just for like the Mercury retrograde kind of energy, right? Like we are right now trying to balance out the dark with the light. Show ourselves that just because something is dark doesn't mean it's all bad. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a beautiful new beginning, and it is this beautiful spring season that we're entering into. And my friend actually asked me the other day, she's like, why in the world do we have bunnies and eggs? She's like, bunnies don't lay eggs, and that has always tripped up my mind. And it was funny because I have been researching that literally that day because I was curious as well. But bunnies and eggs are actually both symbols of fertility because bunnies have a ton of offspring and eggs, well, they get fertilized and then they become new life. And so that's why both of them are symbols for Easter and Ostara and new beginnings and new life, which I think is so beautiful. Yeah, winter is now officially over, but the warmth of summer is yet to come, creating a balanced energy. So I thought that was just so cool. I'm literally just on my Pinterest feed on my 2024 vision board, just kind of like reading off some of the things about the spring equinox, some new spring rituals that you could bring into your life. I always, obviously, we already talked about this, but recommend cleaning out your house. Literally everything. I'm not kidding you guys, literally everything. I've always considered myself to be like a big witchy minimalist type of person. Like I don't like a ton of stuff, but I do like to decorate. So I like things to look very beautiful in their specific spots, but I also like things to be very clean and organized. And that can be difficult, especially when, we're bringing in so much stuff and there's a lot of consumerism going on in the world right now. And I'm trying to help people kind of reverse that and think about more of the quality and the things that they're bringing into their household and making sure that everything they are literally looking over and inspecting to a T before they even bring it into their household. Especially when it comes to like clothes shopping. If you're not already thrifting, definitely do that. And a lot of thrift stores actually allow you to have like consignor sort of accounts, right? So literally bring in that old stuff, get money out of it, buy yourself some new stuff. Actually, not new, but used, but like perfectly still in good condition, but cheaper and better for the environment. And that way you're not totally giving into consumerism either. Because I feel like it's just such a bad problem of this generation. We are just so used to TikTok and YouTube and being sold products, but it's getting a lot more, how should I say this? Like dispiritive, that's not the right word. Like mysterious. Like it's getting a lot harder to recognize when we're being sold products too. So it's very important to have a very thoughtful eye and thoughtful mind about everything that you're bringing into your house and intention. What is this doing for me? What is this actually doing for me? Do I really need this or do I just want this? And sometimes it's okay to buy yourself something that you just want, but try to do it rarely. Try to do it like on occasion, and not all the time. And you'll see that not only will your finances really thank you, but so will nature and so will the world. And I feel like that's what's more important anyways. So that's just what I wanted to start off with, cleaning out the house. And again, from a witchy perspective, get rid of the stuff that's no longer serving you. If there's things that make you think of people that you no longer like, or there's things that, maybe make you think back to different times or whatever. Even if there's things that have like good memories behind them, save some of them, take pictures of the rest of them, and then donate to somebody that will really genuinely love them. And this is coming from somebody that's a fashionista. Like I am saving clothes for my kids. My mom did the same thing for me, and I will forever be grateful. I have some of the coolest, witchiest little outfits that she had when she was growing up, and now I get to wear them and style them how I would in this, in my lifetime. And so I'm doing the same thing for my future kids. I don't care, what their gender is. They are going to appreciate fashion, okay? Because both me and my current partner right now very much so appreciate fashion. So I feel like they'll only really take after us in that aspect. But Yes, that being said, clean house, clean house, clean house. Get rid of anything that's no longer serving you, okay? That can be clothing that's maybe too small or too big that you might think that you might need for a different time. You don't need it, okay? You don't need it now. Give it away. Give it to your friends. If it's something that like is very sentimental for you, but you don't necessarily just want to donate it to a thrift store, give it away to your close friends, close relatives, pass it on, pass it around. Just do something with it. And you'll actually see that it makes that other person so happy. And then you'll get to see that item a lot more because chances are, if they really, really like it, they're going to be wearing it all the time. I've done this several times. And now more than ever, like, I'm just so happy because I see pieces of my family's wardrobe being worn by my friends. And I'm like, oh my God, this feels so nice. Like, I didn't necessarily like get rid of it, but because now my friends have it, like I still get to see it and I don't have to have it in my closet anymore. And it's like on their journey now. So that's kind of cool. I feel like on top of cleaning out your closet, make sure that you are dusting away those spiders, the spider webs, getting in all of the crevices in the corners of the house that maybe you neglect during the winter, but naturally everybody's kind of hunkered down and hibernating in the winter. So it's a little bit difficult, but definitely get on that. Another witchy thing that you can do is sweep your house. This is great not only because it cleans your floors and gets them all sparkling and beautiful again, but it actually rids of the negative energy. And that's why witches so frequently are seen with like brooms and sweeping because they're trying to get out all of that negative energy so then they can start afresh and start anew. I always like, whenever I think about sweeping my house, I always like to think of like the Disney princesses and like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs when she's like cleaning all of that disgusting dust out, but the house just looks so beautiful afterwards. Like, think about the rewards that you're going to reap when your house is this beautiful and this stunning. Like, you won't have to think about cleaning those spots for a very, very, very long time because you were already on top of it. So just consider that. I feel like it's a really, really good thing to do. Also, for all my witches out there, some of you might have altars. Some of you might have like just spaces where you do tarot or where you do readings for yourself. It's a great time to deep clean that spot. I actually just changed my spot completely and I'm in this new refreshed energy that I never thought that I would be in before, where it's like, oh, I'm so excited to do a reading now, which by the way, you guys are definitely going to be getting a pick a card coming up here because I'm just so inspired. My space is now exactly what I've always wanted it to look like. It's witchy, but it's elegant and it's in a nice warmer spot, so I'm not going to be freezing the whole time I'm doing it, and I can light a fire while I do my reading, so it creates a more cozy atmosphere for anybody tuning in and tapping in. I just think it's like that perfect time of the year to really just refresh the space and renew the space. And along with, physically cleaning out your altar, physically cleaning out your tarot spot, your meditation spot, whatever you want to call it. Maybe altar doesn't even have to be like a witchy altar, but your, religious altar, whatever it is, clean it all out. And then also you're going to want to clean it off with, sage or holy water or whatever else you might use, like new moon water, full moon water, like anything like that, that really just charges it with a better energy and renews that space. You're definitely going to want to put it in that space. Maybe even just lighting some incense, welcoming in new, beautiful, beautiful energy. Yes, floral water too, sage water. If you don't want to necessarily burn sage in your house, you can just spray some sage water all over your space. Yes. And then on top of that, some other witchy things that you can do during this season to really get into the vibe of nature and feeling the newness of the season. One of the things that they recommend is actually walking barefoot outside. So feeling the ground beneath your feet. And you don't have to go very far for this. You can even just go in your backyard, but just feeling the earth beneath your feet. Obviously, don't do it on a day where it's like really, really cold, or, maybe do it because you can really get into your meditative mindset. I know from my Finnish ancestors that they'll literally go from like super hot sauna and dive into icy cold water, do like a cold plunge. And because they do this, it's actually like good for the blood circulation or something. I don't really know. I don't know a ton about the science, but yeah, it's just like it's a great like stress reliever. I feel like doing that kind of thing. So maybe you want to try the icy cold on your feet, but if not, then save it for a day when it really kind of warms up. That grass starts to become soft, but it's freshly clean from the rain or from, the snow melting away, and it's maybe a little bit sunnier outside. So just go there and put your feet on the earth. It feels so good, so renewing. And it says on here, it's been shown to strengthen immunity, increase red blood cells, lower inflammation, and support sleep. So especially if you've been feeling like you haven't been getting the best night of sleep, go outside and just stand out there and try to breathe. And I love this one. I'm going to actually combine it with this one. It says, connect to 5 minutes of conscious breathing at the same time each day. Extend the time in 2-minute increments and to slowly achieve longer meditations. So when you're out in nature, you can actually, and you can sort of like forest bathe too, even in your backyard. Just close your eyes and just really listen to all of the sounds around you. Focus on your breathing, focus on slowing down your breath, nice and slow, nice and relaxed, and then really listening and feeling everything, feeling the ground beneath your feet, feeling the wind blowing through your hair or blowing across your skin, feeling literally just every little teeny tiny, maybe if there's something like going around you or whatever. Even if you guys get interrupted, it's a part of the meditation, okay? It's never an interruption. It's a part of the meditation. Just keep breathing and keep going. But if you're outside and you're barefoot, I feel like that's just the perfect spot to do it. Maybe sit down if you're going to be closing your eyes, because it might be a little bit hard to stand up. I don't want anybody getting hurt here, but definitely just closing your eyes, relaxing, having your feet out and on the earth. You can just sort of like sit up, maybe having your palms on the earth as well, and just really allow that time to get yourself more grounded, more centered, and just focus on your breathing. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to be anybody or anything at that time. You just have to be present and still and conscious about everything that's going on around you and your breathing and everything. Yes. Okay. So I think that's really, really beautiful. I think that's a great way to incorporate some witchiness, but also some mindfulness and psychologically, like it's just so good for anxiety and depression to meditate and to really bring their thoughts back, control those thoughts, because that's what it's all about. It's controlling your thoughts and putting them in a better direction, because that will always lead you to your highest path and your highest good. And yeah, I just feel like you guys are so beautiful, so wonderful. If you guys would like me to do like maybe a little meditation, one of these podcast episodes, definitely let me know down below if that's something that you would like to see integrated. Otherwise, if you're like, no, that might be too long, if you'd maybe like a separate video, whatever you guys are thinking, just let me know down below, because I just want to make it happen. I want to make you guys just feel so renewed, so relaxed, and ready for the new season and whatever summer is to bring to us. But yes, let's move on to what should I be doing with my garden or plants right now, right? Because now is the perfect time to actually be starting those seeds, getting those seeds started and into little containers. I actually use like those plastic like lettuce containers that you can get, where like they put like lettuce in it or spinach or broken up pieces or whatever. I kept 2 of those and I just put I wet all my soil before I put it in there. I pre-moistened it, and then I packed my soil into there. And then from there, I put my little seeds on it, and then I closed the containers. And I let it sort of be like a tiny little greenhouse. I kept one of the corners propped carefully, gently open. And I wrote on the top, like, here is where my cucumber is. Here is where my lettuce is. Here is where I'm growing kohlrabi. So there's where my kohlrabi is, my tomato plants, all of that. I wrote it all out on there. So that way I would know which plants were which actually, as they're growing, they literally look like teeny tiny versions of the plants that they're going to be in the future, which is so cool. It's so cool to actually see things like growing in real time and with my own eyes. Like, it's incredible. It's so cool. So I just put all of those seeds in there, depending on how far they needed to be planted. I read the back of the package, and that's how far I stuck them in. If it's 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, you can literally just lay them on top and just like gently pat them in, but they don't really need to be fully in the soil because otherwise it'll be hard for them to reach the sunlight. So it's actually better for them to be a little bit outside of the soil. Um, so that's that. And then, yeah, and then I closed it, I propped it open a little bit, and I put it in a really, really, really sunny spot. If you lack a sunny spot, that's where you're going to need to get like a grow light. You can even just use like a regular light in your house that's shining down. Just use that, point it at the plants, and that will help them out. There's different lighting that's like better for them. But it all kind of does the same thing. Like, some people are like, oh, blue light is the best, whereas some people are like, oh, red light is the best. All the lights are good. I don't know, maybe get a color changing bulb. That's kind of what I thought about doing, and just change it like every single day to a different color. And I'm sure that they'll love that. I'm sure that it'll really help them grow. But yes, I put it in a really sunny spot, and that really seemed to help. I did put little wooden toothpicks in there, and they actually started to grow mold because it was too moist in there for the wood. So I would not do that, but it didn't seem to affect the plants at all. They seem perfectly fine. And yeah, everything seems to be growing very healthy and very well. I did that. And then I also did a huge thing of pollinator wildflowers. And this is just like anything for the bees and the butterflies that are going to help them pollinate. I made sure to do a big batch of that because I'm going to surround my garden with it. So then it really attracts the beautiful pollinators while also sort of creating a barrier, so then my plants aren't getting too much sunlight, because right now they get a ton of sunlight in the spot that they're in. But then also it's so that way like wildlife and other things have a harder time getting through to my garden because there's like a giant wildflower barrier all around it. So that was kind of my game plan. And then that way I can grow like lilies in the back of it too, which I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited, you guys. And then I'm also getting baby's breath too, which is an invasive species in some parts of the world. So definitely look up and make sure that you are not growing an invasive species like in your home when you could literally just like walk outside someplace and get it for free and nobody would care because it's literally invasive. So definitely just be considerate of that. In my space where I am, it is not super invasive, I don't think. I don't think it is. So I'm just growing it in my garden because I love it. I think it's beautiful. I love to add it to every single bouquet. I love to dry it. Baby's breath dries like better than any other flowers that I've ever seen in my life. Baby's breath, baby's breath dries honestly like the best. It's so beautiful. It's so gorgeous. Yeah. So starting your seeds is going to be a big portion, and always look at the back of the package to see when does this need to be planted, what temperature does the soil need to be at, because that's really what it determines like when you can put things in the ground is how warm the soil is. So keep that in mind too. If you have to be moving the plants to bigger or different pots or whatever in the meantime to keep them alive on the inside, then definitely be considering that too. And yeah, just really thinking about where everything is going to go in your garden, the sunlight that it's going to be getting, and, you know, the space that you're going to be growing it in. If you don't already have a space, if you do have a space, then just think about like what you'll need to do to prep it. Like, for example, I every single year, rather than getting like something super expensive and like tarping it or whatever, I just like collect leaves and I put the leaves on top of my garden. And it just sort of blocks any weeds or anything from growing. And I do this in the fall. And then which I'll remind you guys to do this in the fall too, especially if you're thinking about starting a garden. If you're still thinking about it, obviously you don't need to do this. Just be vigilant about weeding and go out there and start it, because who cares, live your life to the fullest always. But covering up the space with leaves just really prevents any weeds from even popping up or even starting to grow when springtime comes around, or even the grass in that area trying to spread or trying to grow into that. It really just keeps it all away. So that way it's way, 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 way less work for me to have to do, even throughout the entire summer. Like if I do this in the fall, then I pretty much have no weeds throughout the entire spring, summer sort of time, because it just really, really, really blocks any of those seeds from even thinking about coming up and integrating into my space. But yeah, it's wonderful. So definitely, if you're a avid gardener, you're wanting to start a garden, look into this, because it's such a great idea. It just, oh my God, it's so much less work, which is my kind of vibe. Like, I'm such a lazy gardener. That's the other thing too, is if you're thinking about starting a garden, you haven't started it yet, make sure that the spot is not only very sunny or whatever you want to grow, like making sure that it matches that sort of partial shade, whatever you want to grow. But also make sure that it is as close as it possibly can be to a water source too, because this will make it so much easier for you just to go out there, give it a good water, go back inside. Then like, oh, I have to get my hose all the way out, and then I have to run back and turn on my water, and then I have to water it, and then I have to go back and turn it off, and then I have to reel in the whole like that just takes way too long. And for me, like, I would not be very like, and this is so bad, but like, I'm a pretty lazy person, so I would not be very like, oh, I'm gonna go do this gardening, like if I had to just work that hard, so instead I just keep it super close to the water so that I can literally just turn it on, be done, get over it, like, it's just easiest that way. And that's another tip that I learned from my gardening instructor. And when I tell you guys that like I was bad at plants, like I was seriously really bad at plants, I ended up having to take that gardening class twice, like, and not even like because I failed it, but basically, like, I just was so bad at it. Like, I was so bad. I couldn't even get my seeds started the first time. And then the second time I got them started, I was so proud of myself. And I went there and I was like ready to show them off. And then other people had like full on plants already, like way bigger than sprouts, way bigger than anything. Like, they were full on plants. And so I was very disappointed. I thought that I did such a good job, but yeah, I did an okay job. It's just this year, like, I'm doing so much better already. And yeah, I just wanted to share like all of my little hacks with you guys, because I know it's difficult getting started. Yes. Oh, also, if you're going to be starting your seeds, make sure that you get starting seed soil, or like seed starting soil or whatever. You cannot just use any kind of like soil for this, because they need a very delicate, very, very, very specific kind of soil. And that's why also I talked about pre-moistening the soil, like before you even put it in there. You never want to like water over little teeny tiny sprouts, because that could actually kill them. Like, if you water them too hard, it can literally just like kill them, which is why some people, if you're like me and you were a beginner gardener, I recommend not even seed starting. I mean, you can just give it a try, because who cares anyways, it's pretty cheap to start seeds. And you never know, you might get a few plants out of that. But if you accidentally mess up, it's okay, because your local farmer's market or your local markets in your area are going to have plants for you to buy and to use that are already started. You just have to put them directly into the ground. So don't worry too much about this. Like, you're going to do great. You're going to do amazing. And if you mess up, you know what? Take notes. What did I do wrong? What should I do different next year? Was it too sunny? Was I overwatering, underwatering, not feeding it enough? Was there not enough like good nutrient soil around it? Yes. Oh my God. And that's the other thing too. you always want to test your soil, especially like the pH balance and everything. You're going to want to make sure that you test your soil in the area where you're going to be gardening because and it's super easy. Like they have these little tester kits like at any gardening store in your area where it's literally like all you do is like you take some of your dirt, you put it in this water, you like shake it up, and then you put one of these capsules in it, you shake it up again, and then you dip your stick in it and you see what the pH is. And depending on the pH, you might need to add more fertilizer, take fertilizer away, etc., etc. For the most part, there's a lot of the time it's adding fertilizer because our areas are so nutrient driven. And just like I talked about at the way beginning, like I thought that I was really, really bad at raising plants, but it turns out that I just wasn't feeding them enough. I wasn't feeding them, or I wasn't really telling like the indicator signs of like overwatering or underwatering. Usually, if you're overwatering, your plant is going to turn yellow. It's going to turn yellow and it's going to say, stop, that's way too much water. Whereas if you're underwatering it, the edges of the leaves are going to turn brown and they're going to get crispy, and then some of the leaves are going to be completely brown and they're just going to start falling off. So that's why it's very important to pay attention to just those little teeny tiny signs, and you could literally save a plant's life and just make it come back to life again. So that being said, what to do about houseplants this time of year? Because this time of year is actually yeah, I feel like it's still too cold. I definitely wouldn't be repotting anything this time of year. Although I say that and then I repotted something like in the middle of the winter time and it actually was fine. But it was like a pretty warm winter day, so it was fine. But yeah, so for the majority of the time, like if it's a nice warm spring day, it's okay to start repotting your plants, moving them on to bigger and better pots that are going to fill up even more and give you even bigger houseplants, or maybe you can break them up into smaller sizes, give some away as gifts to people or to friends, or give them to your local plant shop or whatever. Donate them, there's a lot of different things that you could do. But if it's a very, very, very cold day outside, you're definitely not going to want to be repotting or doing anything with your plants, because even bringing them outside for that short amount of time in the cold can significantly damage their roots. It can damage, because their roots are very, very fragile. That's why they're under the ground, because the ground is protected. It's warmer. It's, moister. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said that. Oh my gosh. Just some people hate that word. I won't even repeat it. But yeah, they don't like the cold very much. And then that can actually really damage, especially tropical plants. So I would stay away from doing any repotting, anything like that until it is time, or it's a warmer and more nicer day outside. And I keep seeing 7-Eleven. So 7-Eleven is definitely one of the numbers of today, 411, 911. And yeah, I'm pretty sure those are all the ones from the reading today. Definitely to look into those angel numbers, see what meanings come up for you. But overall, everybody, yes, this is today's episode of Dirty Talk. Thank you all so much for joining in with me today. I love talking about gardening. I love talking about plants. Oh my God, there's definitely going to be more updates to this as the gardening season goes on, especially during the summer, and then it'll probably break off a little bit more in the fall and the winter because of everything dying down. But for the most part, during the summer and the spring, this sort of section of the podcast is going to be very, very, very prevalent. We're going to talk a lot about foraging, gardening, welcoming more nature into our lives, and plants overall. So I'm very excited. All my little green witches out there, thank you so much for tapping in, tuning in today. I love you all so, so, so much from the bottom of my titty heart. Thank you so much for listening to this, and definitely give us some advice on gardening, plants, literally anything that I questioned about today. Foraging, if you've ever been foraging before, if you want to try foraging, how are you cleaning out your house? Do you have any advice for new gardeners or people who are trying to raise plants for the first time? Leave it all down below. This is such an open discussion and beautiful place. And of course, if you want to join a community of like-minded, beautiful, batty, green witch individuals, definitely check out our Discord. There is a featured plants section where people share houseplants they have. They share gardening tips. Literally anything is all in that section. And especially right now during the season is going to be the best time to tune into that section because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information in there, a lot of extra kind of cool stuff, maybe some garden pics of my own. Just anything is going to be all featured on there. And of course, if you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps boost my videos in the algorithm. So yes, I love you baddie witches so much. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, bye-bye.